Hi, I'm your Secretary of State, Nellie Gorbea, and here's another video exploring our extraordinary documents at the Rhode Island State Archives.
Hi, I'm Lane Sparkman, and today we're going to take an up-close look at the conservation of one of Rhode Island's 4 copies of the Declaration of Independence. This particular printing was done by Mary Catherine Goddard of the Goddard newspaper family on orders from the Continental Congress in January of 1777. Although originally from Connecticut, the Goddards lived in Rhode Island for a time and started the Providence Gazette in 1762. They then moved on to Philadelphia and eventually to Baltimore by 1773. Congress was meeting in Baltimore at the time that they authorized this printing and ordered copies to be sent to each of the 13 colonies. This printing was the first to list the signers of the Declaration of Independence, including Stephen Hopkins and William Ellery from Rhode Island. It's also the only printing to be signed by John Hancock. This is one of 9 known copies remaining from the 1777 printing. Unfortunately, due to improper storage for almost 250 years, it was in serious disrepair. Let's hear a little bit about the conservation process that took place at the Northeast Document Conservation Center in Andover, Massachusetts.
My name is Suzanne Gramley. I'm the Senior Paper Conservator at NEDCC. I treated this early copy of the Declaration of Independence printed in 1777. It was printed in black ink, but also has handwritten inscriptions in iron gall ink, including John Hancock's signature near the bottom. This important document was very fragile and discolored. It was fractured into 3 large pieces and also had many small fragments detached from its edges. The document had previously been mended by backing with refined silk, which is a common paper restoration technique about 100 years ago. But with aging, the silk also degraded and no longer gave support. In order to strengthen the document, reduce the discoloration, and remove the silking, it needed immersion in a water bath. It also needed a second special chemical bath to prevent the iron gall ink from rusting and eating through the paper. For treatment, first the very fragile document was washed on a special supportive screen, while continuously flowing warm filtered water washed out the discoloration and acidity. The detached fragments were washed separately in the same manner, and with the document still damp, the silk was removed by careful scraping with a spatula. The document and fragments were then immersed in another special bath to protect the iron gall ink. All of the fragments were returned to their original locations. Larger losses were filled with toned Japanese paper. Large breaks were mended with strips of very thin Japanese paper, and then the document was lined overall with another very thin Japanese paper. After flattening and drying, the fills were toned with watercolors.
The entire conservation process took about 42 hours, not including consultation time and the time it took to prepare all those special baths. We hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at the conservation process, and that you'll visit the State Archives in person one day to see more of Rhode Island's extraordinary history.